Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Connection, week 142. Here it's Rosh Chodesh already, so Chodesh Tov. Here we are in Chodesh Nisan. I cannot believe it on so many levels. Almost Pesach, already in Nisan from the beginning of the year. It's like the year is going so slowly and so quickly at the same time. And there's a lot to think about, a lot to really, um, really get curious as to how, like, what is our perspective? How are we going into this holiday? How are we going into the preparation of this holiday? And I actually had some ideas I wanted to talk about, and then something else came to my mind that I want to mention as well that I think is really important. And so we're gonna talk about how to like have a really meaningful time and also how to have an enjoyable time and how to allow this time not just to be one that we think of and we reflect on us and our children as like something that's stressful, but one that can be actually meaningful and enjoyable and actually connecting. It can be a really connecting experience when we are aware of and on top of and mindful of our mindset, right? So, looking at this question of how can we really make sure that this time is meaningful. And, I know just off the bat, right? As we're going into prep and there's going to be a lot of time cleaning, a lot of time cooking, a lot of time just getting stuff done. We have to remember that first and foremost, what we are doing is meaningful. It is part of the chag, everything that we do to clean the chametz and all the ideas of like we're cleaning all of the chametz out of our house, out of our minds, out of our mindsets, out of our bodies, out of just the whole chametz concept, right? And what is chametz? Just like I think one of the most powerful things I ever learned about chametz is the fact that chametz itself was invented by the Egyptians. They were the first ones at the time of the Pesach story. They were basically like the first ones who created this concept of leavened bread. Until then, everyone ate pita, right? Like pizza, okay, not pizza, not like matzah, but they ate pizzas. And the Egyptians were the first ones that added the concept of not necessarily yeast at the time, they used sourdough, but the concept of fermentation, the concept of chametz. And so when we talk about like getting rid of the Egypt in us, it's like that's what the chametz represents. When Hashem said, get the chametz out of your house means like get rid of at the time when he said it to the Jews in Mitzrayim and in Egypt, and we're meant to be doing that every year, right? As if we're there, because it's a message and an idea that we need to relive all the time, every year. It's of course we do it because Hashem said get rid of the chametz, and we do. But what is the deeper meaning of the chametz? Is that Egyptianness, the otherness, what is not, everything to get out of us, everything that is not Torah, that is not connected to Hashem, that takes us away from ourselves, takes us away from meaning. And that doesn't mean, that we sit and, we don't do anything in life except like prayer and learning. Like life, Torah is life, life is Torah. But everything that takes us away from our meaning, takes us away from our purpose, takes us away from that concept of being Avdei Hashem, of being women who are dedicating ourselves to a connection with Hashem and asking, what does Hashem want from me in this world? What am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be bringing into the world? Anything that takes us away from that, right? Away from that mindset is that chametz. So whether we're getting like spiritual about our cleaning, even as whatever we're doing the mitzvah. It's meaningful in and of itself. And we can also look to see what can I do as I'm doing this so that I feel even more meaning as I'm doing it, right? Whether it's like, because we don't want to just, what I find, and I'm talking very much from my personal experience, if we're just cleaning or just cooking and it's just, oh, I have to do all this stuff and no one's doing it with me and I'm by myself, like if, I realize this year, like as my kids are getting older, that like they won't even be, most of them aren't going to be around to even help me. So it's like that, like on the one hand, it's like, oh, it's a little bit easier when you don't have like little kids running around. At the same time, they have jobs and like work like and the boys are in cheder like no I don't I'm not sure how much help I'm gonna have. And yet um to not get pulled into that like either oh my gosh I have to do everything or I have to take care of everyone or I have no one to help me if we want to stay out of the resentment and the frustration and the feeling of overwhelm, having something that is playing for us can really make a difference. So like having good things to listen to, having good music to listen to. I was thinking about this a lot actually, and watch your emails because of this, I'm going to be sending out an opportunity to like really have meaningful things to listen to. And I have some great ideas that I want to send out to all of you. So you're welcome to, watch your inbox. I was thinking about this a lot last week. And then my daughter was cleaning for Shabbos and she goes, I saw this meme that she said, cleaning for Pesach is 10% cleaning and 9% looking for good music. Like, send me that. So that's basically the idea of like having something that we feel meaningful as we're listening to it, also having like fun music. And that can really be what creates a connecting experience with everyone, right? That when you're all cleaning together or you're all cooking or you're all kind of like even if everyone's kind of hanging around, but there's good music playing and you're singing and you're dancing, you're bringing out your silly side or your fun side, like that's also good. So it's like our serious side. Sometimes we want to listen to things, but there's also our fun side. There's also, listening to music that's moving, that's inspiring. There's so many great options and it's good that can really help us not get kind of pulled into the resentment, getting lost in our thoughts, getting lost in our like it's good to think. I'm not saying we should always have something playing, but there is something positive to having something that plays in the background so that we don't start to go off into like very, you know, dark places if we start to feel very overwhelmed. And to notice if you are starting to feel overwhelmed, take time for yourself, give yourself pats on the back, celebrate your victories, what you've achieved. Make sure that you are keeping track not just of what you have to get done, but what you've already done, and making sure that you do take time for yourself. You do take time for that cup of coffee, a walk around the block, a yoga routine, eating a meal. Um, that's something that I've spoken about here before. Sorry, I still cannot get rid of this cold or allergies or whatever it is. It gets better every day, but it just won't go away. So, is the fact that I had so many years where the week before Pesach was like just hunger, just like I didn't know how to feed myself. I would like run out of the house trying, desperately trying to find something to eat. I thank God live in a place where there's a lot of food around if you're have the time and the patience and you're willing to go out and spend money on it. But it's I would try to hold off from doing that or I wouldn't know how to feed everyone. And one of the biggest as I've been really gifting myself this gift of taking care of myself and learning how to eat and how to take care of myself. That means that the week before Pesach, I also know how to take care of myself. And that's really powerful and it gives me so much more energy and I'm actually so much calmer because I take time, 3 to 4 times throughout the day to eat something, to drink water, to have my coffee. It makes such a difference. So that's one way of not getting into the resentment and not getting and actually allowing us to have a great time is looking at who am I, how am I spending that time, right? Like it's in the how. It's like, am I making that like filling the space with positive things? Am I taking care of myself? That's a really important aspect to all of this. And I would also say that another really important aspect is to get curious, be mindful of our mindset, right? That like being really real with ourselves about like who do I want to be as I'm going into this time period. We may have discussed this before, but it's so important. And sometimes we think that the best way to be going into this time period is like the superwoman who's going to get everything done and going to make a million of everyone's favorite dishes and I guess because sometimes people say like, "Oh, the Pesach food, whatever." I think Pesach food is amazing. My kids, we love Pesach food. My husband also, we love Pesach food, matzah lasagna and matzah cookies and just matzah brie and matzah everything, the brownies, the everything. We just love Pesach food and you want to make it all and get it all in. And there's so many, every Shabbos Yantif, like every day we're like making more of this stuff and there's so much and you want to make everything and like you have to get it all in. There's one week. Nobody, even though we always say we should make this during the year, we never do, right? So you could feel like you have to make everything. You have to get everything in and everything has to be perfect and everything has to be elaborate and everything has to be nowadays there's this like expectation for things to also be fancy and to be like decorated and like designed and your table should like like amazing how high of expectations we just keep putting on ourselves more and more, right? So if we can be curious or we think that there's a part of us that's supposed to go into it like ashmata, like we're supposed to, oh, how much have you done, how much you have left to do, right? Either like down, like we feel like we're supposed to feel victimized, or we're supposed to like as if like when you're sitting in I remember one time years ago, it was like I guess it was around now, it was like Rosh Chodesh Nisan and it was a Friday night and I was sitting in the mikveh waiting for my turn at the mikveh, and women were sitting there talking about how much have you done already and how much have you cleaned. I took my husband to the I went with him to the eye doctor like 3 weeks ago, and women were talking about how much they've cleaned for Pesach. Like there could be this expectation, like you should be able to be like, I'm already done. My kitchen's already this. I've already made all of that. Or, oh, I still have so much to do. Like as if it's like those two opposite extremes or like so we want to get curious like where's our mindset at and if we're can we mindfully choose who do I want to be what and when you're trying to choose who do you want to be to ask yourself what do I want this holiday to feel like for not just for myself, but for especially my family, my home. Pesach is all about the home and passing on Judaism, not just, yes, to our children and to ourselves, right? We know it says in I don't know if it's the Mishnah or the Gemara that says that if there's no children at the table, you say Manishtana to yourself, right? If you happen to, have a if there's a Seder somewhere where, like, there's no kids, like, a lot of people had this during Corona, yes, you say the an adult says it, or it says you say it to yourself. So, we're also giving it over to ourselves. We're giving over the concept of Judaism and the beauty of it, the destiny of it, the the belief that the knowledge we have that Hashem is there for us, such an important message that we really like can embody right now and really take in for ourselves, knowing that Hashem can do anything. Hashem runs the world. Hashem is and Hashem has said, I have a destiny for you as my people, as my children, and that we can believe in that destiny and trust in it no matter what happens generation after generation. That is a message that we're meant to feel for ourselves, that we're meant to teach to our children, our families. And so when we think about what do we want this holiday to feel like for everyone inside of my home, myself included, to be empowered to then say, okay, so if that's what I want the holiday to feel like, if I want it to feel connecting or loving or full of light, full of happiness, of simcha, right? Simchas Yom Tov. If I want it to feel, a sense of love of Hashem, if I want to feel excited for it, then that is something we get to take in for ourselves and be that. Create that, not just wait for it to happen, right? Pesach is about, okay, maybe Pesach night itself is the miracle of it just happens, right? But we know that then comes Spirit Omer, right? We have to build it. And we also know like we prepare for Pesach because that's my brother's joke. My brother once wrote this joke. He's like, the night that because one year we didn't prepare, now we spend, a month preparing, right? So we know that there's also preparation that goes into that it just being given to us, right? That miracle of that night, we were just given the highest heights, even though we didn't deserve it. We prepare for that and then we build on it. And so that's where we can really be empowered and we can say, who do I want to be? What's the message that I want to create? And I want to give you one more message here, which is really about how can we ensure that Pesach really is a connecting experience. I'm going to get a little bit on a soapbox here. I don't do it so often, I don't think, but I have a message that I really want to give over and it's an emotional message. It's a really important message that I think is so important, especially now in a time where we know how easily and quickly divide can be created. It can be created in our marriages, in our homes, it can be created in our nation, right? In our people. Here we're supposed to be. We are a nation of brothers and sisters, and how easily that can be split. And we've been experiencing this amazing it, unfortunately how it happened, but this connection, this achdut, this oneness of us being all together and all connected with each other. And it pains me so much anytime I see evidence that we may lose that sense of connection, that maybe we are losing that sense of connection, that we stop remembering that we are one people and that we love each other and that we care about each other. And the way that that happens and the way out of it, okay, the way to stay connected is to one of the ways that I see so powerfully is to remember and to be very conscious of when we're going into a state of all or nothing thinking, which is like black and white thinking and just seeing the other person as completely wrong because we don't why? Mostly because we don't understand it. And I'm going to give an example and I promise you right now as I'm giving this example that I know that I don't know enough to have an opinion like to say what I think should be, and I know that there are so many moving parts and so many aspects to this, and I also know and have heard enough from all sides to know that everybody has validity to what they're saying and a reason for believing what they believe. But here's the thing, okay? When you look at this question right now about serving in the army, yeah, I'm going to go there for a minute, okay? We're going to go there for a minute because this is paining me and it's breaking my heart. And I have to share this with all of you. When you look at this issue, I'm sorry. When you look at this issue, what we have to remember is that everybody has a reason for their side and how they feel about it. And the important thing to remember, the important thing to notice is that the anger and the reason why people cannot why we're not figuring this out is because rather than looking to try to understand each other, people go to extremes. Let me say something very clearly. Okay? On the one hand, nobody is saying that we shouldn't learn Torah. Nobody is saying that there shouldn't be Torah learning in Israel, that there shouldn't be yeshivas, that people shouldn't spend years learning Torah. Nobody is saying that. And yet you hear people saying they're trying to destroy Torah learning in Israel. Chas v'shalom, nobody's saying that. We also, on the other side, we can nobody can say that every sector of the Israeli population isn't doing something to help and that there are things that can be done besides for joining the army and besides for fighting. And there are reasons there's holy reasons to join and there's holy reasons not to join. There is so many aspects to this topic. Like I said, I'm not giving a side. I'm not giving this is what I think should be done. But what I am saying is imagine the power if all sides could sit together and rather than saying, you're saying no one should learn Torah, you're saying that it's a horrible thing to fight in the army. You're saying that you don't have to do anything for Israeli society. You don't care about the Jewish people. You're saying you don't care about the Jewish people. Rather than going to such huge extremes, imagine if we could actually sit down and hear each other and understand what each side is trying to say. Of the sides, all the sides are trying to say. Understand each other, listen to each other, hear people's concerns, hear people's desires on both sides, on all sides. Why am I saying this? Why does it sound like I'm getting political over here? Because these issues are going to come up every single day of your life. Every single day you're going to have an issue. I want to do it this way. My husband wants to do it that way. I want to do something like this. My kid wants to do it like that. I want my home run this way. He wants the home run that way. I want to do the Seder like this. He wants it like that. I think we should clean this way. He thinks we should clean that way. I want him to help. He says he doesn't have time. I want to do the shopping. He wants to do the shopping. How much money should we spend? How should we mechanech our children? What kind of home should we build? Everyone has feelings and expectations and desires and mindsets and opinions. And when we see something that's different than our own, we have this tendency to all or nothing it, to black and white. Oh, I'm right and you're wrong. This is the right way to do it. Your way's the wrong way to do it. I can't believe you want to do it that way. I can't believe I'm married. I can't believe this is. And that's where all the strife and all the pain is coming from. And what I'm inviting you to do in all the issues that are going to come up over the next week, 2 weeks, month, all the years of our lives, please God, to be able to sit together and say, let me understand you and let me explain myself to you. This takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of self love to know how I feel, know what I want, know what's important to me, and not and first of all hear it for myself, because here's the reality. I cannot hear how you feel if I have not first fully made peace with how I feel, and I know what I want and I know what I feel, so that you sharing how you feel doesn't feel like it's a threat to me, and I can make space to hear you. And when you feel heard and I can really show you you're heard, I can share how I feel in a way that you can hear me. And we can't do that if we're judging. We can't do that if we're making the other person wrong. We can't do that if we feel like we have to stand up and defend ourselves and yell and scream and fight. No, we can only do that if we have an opening, a curiosity, an empathy, a feeling of love and respect for ourselves and for the other person. And that is the path towards connection. Pesach is a stressful time. I'm not going to stand here and say Pesach's never stressful. It's so amazing. It's amazing and it's stressful, and there's a lot of stress right now. There's a lot of extra. We already have a lot on our minds, on our plates, on our shoulders, and now there's more to do. And it's got to get done. It does. And we need help, and we need to be able to communicate, and we need to be able to work together, and we need to be able to figure things out. And when we can do it from a place of empathy, from a place of, I don't have the full truth. No one has the full truth. We're all going to share with each other and learn and share and be vulnerable, which means I'm going to be vulnerable how I feel. And I'm also going to open myself up to that very vulnerable feeling where I have to actually hear someone else's perspective. Know that there are parts of what I feel that are not going to come to fruition, or might be wrong, or might I may not get everything that I want. That's what it means to build together. We got to work together. We got to talk to each other. We got to realize it's not all or nothing. And it's about knowing that the way we work to like the way we're going to grow and connect together is to be open to hearing from each other, open to learning, right? That's what do we do Pesach night? How do we learn? We ask questions. We ask questions, which means that we have to be open to the answer, right? There's this beautiful vorts, Hasidic vorts of like how the Russia is not the worst son, right? Because guess what? The Russia's at the Seder and he's asking questions. And there could be children who, God forbid, don't even come to the Seder and don't ask questions. They're the ones who we can't get to, who we can't talk to. We can't talk to someone who's not there. But as long as we're asking questions, we can be open to hearing and learning. The Russian might say, "What is this to you, not me?" And he's taking himself out. But you know what? He's sitting at the Seder, which means part of him is open to the experience. So let's be open. Let's ask questions instead of saying, "Why would you do that?" Let's say, "What was that about?" Instead of saying, "What's wrong with you?" we could say, "What's going on with you?" Instead of saying, "Why won't you help me?" we could say, "How would you be able to help me? When might you be able to help me? What would you be willing to do for me?" Instead of saying, "I can't do this," how about saying, "Would you help? What can I let go of? What can I cross off my list?" And instead of saying, "I'm all alone and I'm resentful," say, ask yourself, "Who can help me? Who can I turn to for help?" Let's ask questions and be open to the answers so we can learn and we can grow and we can move forward together as Jews, as families, and as one nation, strong together. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share. I hope that this was helpful and that it makes a difference. And I look forward to hearing your feedback in terms of what difference it makes when you turn on some music, turn on something inspiring to listen to, something meaningful. When you are um, check in with yourself about what you want to create and who you want to be to create that. And when you're open to asking questions, open to hearing the other side, open to knowing that none of us have the full truth. That's Hashem's job. And we get to learn and grow and build together. So I wish you all a good week as we really gear up. Next week will really be I know for me that's my real like go time. And I'm in the prep. But Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all grow together. And I'll see you next week, please God. May it be as we go into Nisan, we should just see more and more and more miracles and feel more and more connected to each other and taken care of, taken care of by Hashem and know that see like just total like clarity how much he runs the world and is taking care of us. Let's say a quick Tehillim together. Let's do Kuf Lamed Aleph. Just I won't even take time to open it on my phone. Shir lama'alot asa enai el ha'arim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lemot raglecha. Al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha. Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka. V'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvuecha me'ata v'ad olam. The sun and the moon. Very relevant to today. Anyone who's in the, I don't know where the eclipse, if you're able to see it wherever you are, But we should always remember that Hashem is in control, and it's not science, right? It's not science running the world. It's Hashem running the science, and and Hashem always taking care of all of us. So until next week, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.